What is up, VC? It's Nolan. I had to think about that, but I had a little bit of time today to do a video. I really wanted to do a vinyl update, but I'm still waiting on one package from the UK to come. But hopefully that'll come this week, and I can get a last vinyl update before Christmas. Hope you guys are just ready for the holidays. I just started at the UPS store, and if there's one thing I can recommend, it's please don't go to the post office for the next few days. Even if you have to, just wait till after and send the Christmas presents after. Because if your family is family, they're not going to care if it gets there on time. So otherwise you're going to pay way too much money. And you're going to stand in a line for a really long time. I will say though, I'm enjoying being able to help these people in my new job. But I do not envy their position. Anyway, so that's aside the point. Indie vinyl, that's what we're doing. O's and P's. I only have 2 O's and I have a bunch of P's. What up with OPP? Indie vinyl knows me. We're going to start. Ockerville River plays the stage names. 2007 Jaguar. Great record. I haven't listened to it in a while. Saw these guys live recently with Titus Andronicus and Future Islands. Really good show. But by the time they played, I was tired of standing up. So my brain couldn't even enjoy the music. It was just like, I want to stop standing. But this is a great record. Very lyrical, folk, power pop. If you could put those together. Nice record. 2007 that one came out. This is Satanic Panic in the Attic of Montreal. This is a recent repress by Polyvinyl. I think Brett showed this recently, and his is on yellow vinyl. Mine's just normal, but it's nice, inexpensive repress. My only beef is with the art direction. You know, I think it could have been done a little bit better. The type, I hate it when the type is just set on top of the image instead of, this is some boring graphic design stuff, but it's not actually rasterized with the art. The edges of the letters are sharp, and it looks cheap to me. It takes like 5 seconds to change that. And then also there's you can't really tell here, but the scan of the original album art and of Montreal, as you can tell, always just has incredible art. And I think they've since they make certain records for vinyl now, I think they've since fixed maybe some of these problems, but it looks like the original scan of this. I don't know if you can tell, but it's messed up, and so there's like some doubling of the images because when they were trying to, I guess, patch together the original artwork. Anyway, this is such a great record that I don't even give a shit, but I've thought about it, obviously. I could listen to this front to back. Solandic Twins after this, and Hissing Fauna, Are You the Destroyer after that. Just fantastic of Montreal albums. I'll be looking out for those in the future, but for now, this is great to have. Pulled this one out the other day. Slumberland 2008, Pains of Being Pure at Heart. Just fantastic fuzzy noise pop. Just a great record. Revivalist, totally, They aren't breaking any new ground here, but they're doing what they're trying to do perfectly. Just a totally fun, great summer record. They stress that it's released in the summer, which, if you're familiar with Slumberland, they always put the season on the record, which is just really great because I don't know, it gives you some context. And it's appropriate. Pains of Being Pure Heart RP4. This band, the Pastels, wonderful band. I don't think this is an original pressing. This says 1991 on Paper House Records. Because didn't this come out before Sitting Prayer? I should know. I'm showing you the record, but just great. Fuzzy, jangly, indie pop nuggets. I just love tiny little songs that just just, Pastels are just one of my favorite bands. They're great. More Pastels, Sitting Pretty. This is on Homestead Records, 1989. Which is why I'm not sure about the date on Up for a Bit, because I thought Up for a Bit came before this. Either way, this is an excellent album. Nothing to Be Done is a classic indie pop nugget, for sure. And that's it for the Pastels that I have, sadly. Pattern is Movement altogether. This is a Home Tapes release, 2010. Great packaging. This is weirdly one of those albums that I have in my collection, and I always think, I never listened to this. I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to listen to it and see if I even want to keep it. And then I listen to it, and I'm really glad I did. And I'm like, keeping it. Good job. So even if that's the only time it gets pulled out, at least it gets pulled out. And, I have a tendency to be obsessively minimal in my life. And records are the first thing that I've not been minimal with. And I have to remember that, I'm allowed to keep things that I don't always use. Because with everything else, I think it's just, my parents just are pack rats. But I think it's a reaction to that, maybe. Anyway, so I have to remind myself I don't have to get rid of Pattern is Movement if I don't listen to it all the time. Pavement. This is a official live bootleg made to look like a real bootleg. And this was originally released with a purple screen print, I think with the deluxe edition of Bright in the Corners. And then it was released after that either for Record Store Day, I'm not sure, but I found a record store that had a few of these, and they're overstock for a good price, and picked them up because I was just newly a fan of Pavement. I really enjoy Pavement. Let's see if we can get some more light. This a little better. Because I had picked this up after a friend had given me all their CDs, but that was a little overwhelming. So, Pavement, Quarantine the Past, Matador Records, I'm going to say 2010, yeah. This is a great Pavement mixtape, basically. And I'll probably get their albums eventually. But for right now, like I said, I'm fairly new to Pavement. I've really only been into Pavement for about a year or so. I don't know how I missed it. It came out when I was just a little baby. Not a baby, but still under 10 years old. That's not when you listen to Pavement, right? Anyway, so that's a good one. Liz Phair. This is a Matador. This is the repress from 2008 on National Anthem, ATO Records. Gatefold. The cover with no nipple. This is, in the record store where I worked at, this happened a lot. I think I've mentioned this before. The last record store I worked at was in a really small town, and so if something sat on the shelf, it was very obvious because the store didn't make a ton of money, so it wasn't always buying things, and the stock was kind of lean a lot of the time. So if something sat there for a while, it was very obvious. So this had been sitting on the shelf. I bought this year, and this was bought new in 2008. So this had been on the shelf forever. No one bought it. Not very many adventurous buyers at that old store. So I decided to give it a chance. I don't know why. Before there was some kind of bias that this album was not good. I don't know, but for some reason I was under the impression that this was not that great. It's fucking awesome. Go figure. I'm not listening to anyone ever again. It's obviously the VC knows what's up with Liz Phair, And I'm glad I bought that one, gave it a chance. Later, like a week later, went and picked this up. Liz Phair with Whip Smart. And this is an original issue. This is 94 Matador. And this, I mentioned in my last video, Wasp Star, that I picked up the XTC album that I found for $10. It normally goes for a lot more. I actually found this there as well. This is on white vinyl. And let's see, as you can see there, $8. Fucking great deal. I think this goes for more. That antique store, I think someone just like gave them their stuff or something. I have maybe a dozen really nice finds from that particular antique store. And then some were expensive. I did pay $60 for a record at that antique store. That was worth it. I'll show that one day. Anyway, Liz Phair is great, and I'm really glad I discovered her. Phosphorescent, here's to Taking It Easy. This is 2010 Dead Oceans. Full title, it's kind of silly. Here's to Taking It Easy. What does that say? Though the Jesus of this world wish only to grab hold of your sweet ass. It's the full title. This is just a nice, breezy, kind of alt-country record. Phosphorescent, normally a bedroom recording artist, went and recorded with his full band. I don't know if you can see it from this, but there's a wolf's face in the back. There's his eyes. It's really, I like how it's just kind of mysterious. His nose, or those are his teeth actually. Anyway, either right before this or right after this, he did an album that was all covers of Willie Nelson songs. And that very much informs this album. Just nice country. Just all the songs are great. Hard to Be Humble when you're from Alabama. Check that song out if this looks interesting to you or sounds interesting to you. This next band, this is the last 4 of the P's. Just great friends. Jason, Michael, and Tim. We toured up and down the East Coast with this band a number of times. Obviously, when you're on the road, you get CDs instead of records. Well, I mean, I still buy records, but you try. It's just you don't want the records getting warped in the van and stuff. So I mostly had this stuff on CD because they gave it to us for free in exchange for our CD, etc., etc. But I knew that all their stuff was on LP, so I eventually got it all. Their record label Sabotage is based in Germany, and they tour in Europe mostly. But they had a deal. I had their latest release, and then they had a deal with their latest release that you could get their first 3 for 20 euros. Which, yes, I mean $25 for 3 records I had been jonesing for. I'm on board. So Polite Sleeper is the name of this band. They're from Brooklyn, New York. This is their first album, actually recorded in California. Lafayette's a great track on here. I actually don't listen to this album very much. It's a little bit more emo than I'm particularly a fan of, but still a nice start. Really, to me, this is where it kicks in for them. Polite Sleeper Scenes. And this is I don't really know the dates on here. This is all mid to late 2000s. It's nice inner sleeve. The inner sleeve, they did all their CD jackets with this blue tape. So I think this is kind of an homage to that. But basically their setup is Jason sings a lot of abstract, flowing lyrics. You could relate it maybe to Mountain Goats, but a little bit more abstract, with just some great kind of like, you can imagine emo drums stripped back a little bit because the drummer plays a really tiny kit, and then a nice electric keyboard. And in the studio they do extra things, but it's a 3-piece. They're a trio. I don't know. You could call them an emo punk trio. I guess, emo punk acoustic trio, which normally that would not appeal to me, but I guess when you know a band, that makes a difference. So Scenes, their second album, is great. This album I haven't had much of a chance to dive into, Lake Effect, but I will eventually. And as always, like, these are just nice pressings. Their label is really great. They really got I mean, for a struggling band to have everything they've put out on LP, that's not so bad. It's not so bad. Their latest record, I just think, is phenomenal. It's just their best thing that they've done. This came out this year. This is Turf. And I'm going to put a link to the single from this album, West Side High. I'm going to put a link to that video below so you can check it out. I think it's just a great song, great introduction to the band style. I waited a long time to get this, and I'm glad I did. Look at that, $2.99 out of 300. They did a limited repress for their European tour. That was basically just a silkscreen cardboard sleeve. So this is, I mean, I'm glad I jumped on it. I mean, I didn't really. I waited a really fucking long time, but anyway, I'm especially glad that I jumped on it because if you see here, let's see. See that there? It says the thanks to, it says Noel and the Charming Youngsters for letting us know they're not all dead sounds. And I'm Noel, of course, and the Charming Youngsters is my band. And I got a copy of this album digitally from Jason, like as soon as it was done. Jason, the primary songwriter, and gave him a lot of feedback on it. I think that's what he means, or maybe when we were touring, he just means that we're not just all playing to no ears, even when it seems like that. So, I mean, if I had waited a little bit longer, I wouldn't have even gotten the album with me and the thank you notes. That would suck. So yeah, that's the O's and the P's of indie vinyl, and we'll do. I only have 2 or 3 R's, and then a whole bunch of S's. So we're gonna group together the R's and the S's. We don't have any Q's, so I might do like a 7-inch interlude, like I did with K Records earlier, which I don't know. I don't think that many people were into it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Anyway, y'all know what to do. Take it easy.